The night hangs heavy over the quiet suburban street, the kind of night where even the rain seems to move slowly, as if respecting the stillness. Ethan Miller stands on the sidewalk just outside his home, soaked but unmoving, gripping a bouquet of red roses he had planned to give his wife as a simple, heartfelt surprise. The soft glow from the street lamps throws a faint reflection on the wet asphalt, while droplets slide off Ethan's hair and coat. His eyes, however, are fixed on the living room window, where two blurred silhouettes shift too intimately for comfort. The warmth of the house contrasts sharply with the cold shock washing over him. His phone buzzes with a message from Jordan, his childhood friend, but Ethan barely notices. Instead, he watches the shadowed figures move closer, the painful realization forming before he can bring himself to accept it. Ethan's heart pounds against his ribs as he forces himself closer to the window, each step feeling heavier than the last. The rain taps against the glass like a cruel reminder that this moment is real, not a nightmare he can wake from. Through the foggy pain, he finally sees it. Lena, his wife, leaning in and kissing a man whose face he cannot fully make out, but whose presence is unmistakably not his. The kiss is soft, familiar, something shared, something repeated. Not an accident, not a misunderstanding. Ethan's breath catches and the world around him blurs. He staggers back, nearly slipping on the wet pavement as his trembling fingers grip the buzzing phone in his pocket. Jordan's name flashes on the screen, calling again, but Ethan hits decline instantly. The betrayal is too fresh, too raw for words. The bouquet slips slightly from his grasp, petals darkening in the rain. Ethan stands numb, the rain disguising the tears forming in his eyes. His mind races as he finally raises the phone to call the one person he always trusted, Jordan. But his finger freezes above the screen. A thought creeps in, slow but sharp. Jordan had warned him vaguely, telling him, don't overthink things, urging him to relax without ever revealing what he truly knew. Why didn't Jordan ever say more? Why did he sound nervous every time Ethan mentioned Lena's late nights or strange behavior? The realization hits not like a scream, but like a whisper, quiet, dangerous, unsettling. Ethan lowers the phone and whispers into the cold air, Jordan, you were right. Something was off. Yet the more he repeats those words, the more they twist inside him. Was Jordan protecting him, or protecting someone else entirely? The seed of suspicion settles deep, hinting that this betrayal might run far deeper than one kiss. Ethan Miller has always been the kind of man people rely on, steady, patient, and endlessly hardworking. As a project manager, he has built his life around structure and responsibility, traits that carried into his marriage. He grew up believing loyalty was the core of love, and with Lena, he poured every ounce of himself into creating the security he thought she always deserved. Lena's past, however, was anything but secure. Raised in a home full of emotional volatility, she learned early that affection came in unpredictable, fleeting bursts. Stability was foreign to her, even frightening. When she met Ethan, she saw a man who was safe, someone who wouldn't leave, someone who would love her even when she faltered. But as the years passed, the same stability that comforted her also felt suffocating. She craved validation, attention, the adrenaline of being desired, something Ethan never realized she was quietly starving for. Orden Cole, Ethan's childhood friend, lives in stark contrast, a charismatic, confident presence who always filled a room the moment he walked into it. But beneath the charm lies a deep insecurity he never learned to address. Growing up next to Ethan, he always felt like the second choice, the fun friend, not the reliable one, the joker, not the husband material. When Ethan married Lena, Jordan admired her a little too much. Not just her beauty, but the emotional intensity she carried. As Ethan worked relentlessly to afford their dream home, Lena slowly withdrew, hiding her loneliness behind polite smiles. Meanwhile, Jordan checked in on her whenever Ethan traveled, always presenting himself as the understanding listener. Small cracks formed. Missed date nights, unanswered texts, Lena's wandering eyes, Jordan's lingering glances. These cracks weren't sudden. They were years in the making, quietly, subtly eroding the foundation Ethan thought was unshakable. Looking back, the audience begins to see that nothing about this triangle formed overnight. Every sign had been present long before the night Ethan saw the silhouettes in his living room. Lena's growing restlessness, her newfound attention to her appearance, her sudden excuses about staying late at work, Ethan's exhaustion from covering extra shifts to secure their future, unknowingly leaving emotional space unguarded. And Jordan, always there, always helpful, always conveniently nearby at Lena's weakest moments. What seemed like friendly concern begins to look like a pattern. The lingering texts, the inside jokes, the way Jordan spoke about Lena with a softness he never used with anyone else. The more these moments stack together, the clearer it becomes that the betrayal wasn't a sudden storm. It was a slow, rumbling thunder that had been gathering for years. The audience realizes Ethan was the last to see what everyone else already sensed. Ethan enters the house quietly, dripping from the rain, his heart still pounding from what he witnessed outside. He finds Lena in the kitchen, pretending to scroll through her phone, acting as if nothing unusual happened. Her hair is slightly messy, her breathing uneven, subtle signs Ethan notices instantly because he knows her better than anyone. He tries to keep his voice steady, gentle, almost pleading as he asks, "I saw someone in the house. Who was it?" Instead of fear or concern, Lena responds with cold irritation, rolling her eyes as if his pain is an inconvenience. "You're imagining things, Ethan," she snaps, returning to her phone. The lie is sharp, dismissive, and it shatters something inside him. Confused, shaking, Ethan steps away and calls the one person who should be on his side, Jordan. But when the phone rings, Jordan takes too long to answer, and that hesitation feels like a warning. When Jordan finally picks up the call, his voice doesn't hold the usual warmth. It's strained, startled, almost guilty. Ethan tries to keep himself from trembling as he whispers, "Jordan, Lena's lying. I saw someone in the house." There's a long pause before Jordan responds, and his words tumble out too quickly. "Look, Ethan, don't blame her. She's been lonely." The line hangs in the air like a sharp blade. Ethan's breath catches. His voice tightens. "How do you know she's been lonely?" Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Jordan doesn't breathe, doesn't respond, doesn't even try to cover his mistake. That silence says everything. Says too much. Ethan can hear him panic on the other end, fumbling for words, but none come. The world narrows around Ethan as he realizes this wasn't just a friend slipping up. This was someone who knew far more than he ever admitted. Someone who was involved. The silence becomes a spark that ignites everything Ethan has ignored for years. In that moment, memories begin to flow back with new meaning. Jordan showing up uninvited with flimsy excuses. Lena suddenly defending Jordan during small arguments. The two of them sharing looks Ethan couldn't interpret at the time. He remembers nights when he felt like an outsider in his own home, moments when conversation stopped the moment he walked into the room, and the sudden closeness between the two under the disguise of friendship. Every puzzle piece that once seemed harmless now locks into place with terrifying clarity. Ethan feels the ground shift beneath him as the truth takes shape. It's not just betrayal, it's a pattern, a long one. He wipes his face, straightens his back, and makes a silent vow. "I'll find out everything. All of it." For the first time, Ethan is no longer blind. He is awake. Ethan becomes a quiet storm, silent, controlled, but trembling underneath as he begins searching for answers he is terrified to find. Late one night, after Lena falls asleep, he unlocks her old iPad that still syncs with her cloud backup. His hands shake as he scrolls through recently deleted messages. Half conversations, cropped screenshots, fragments of chats that clearly weren't meant for his eyes. He reads enough to see emotional intimacy, secret meetups, phrases like "miss you" and "wish you were here." His heart sinks deeper as he opens a guest room closet to put away laundry, only to find Jordan's jacket hanging neatly behind his own winter coats. The fabric still carries a familiar cologne. Then in a drawer, he finds photos Jordan secretly took of him and Lena. Pictures meant to look candid, but the angles feel obsessive, possessive, almost predatory. The betrayal is no longer suspicion. It's a reality tightening around his throat. When Ethan confronts Lena with trembling honesty, she doesn't break, she sharpens. Her tone turns icy, accusing him of paranoia, insecurity, and emotional instability. She flips every question back at him, telling him he's imagining things, that he's ruining the marriage, that he's turning into someone she barely recognizes. Ethan stands there, Feeling small, confused, and swallowed by her denial, seeking some grounding, he agrees to meet Jordan for drinks. Jordan acts overly relaxed, patting Ethan on the back, offering sympathy that feels scripted. But then Jordan makes a fatal mistake. While describing an evening he never attended, he casually mentions the scent of Lena's new perfume, Vanilla Whisper. Ethan freezes. He never told Jordan's name, and Lena only bought a week ago. The words fall like a trap, snapping shut. Jordan realizes too late what he said. Ethan watches a facade crack, and the truth begins spilling out in silence. I end the weeks that follow. Ethan's world stops turning the way it used to. He barely sleeps. When he does, he wakes up gasping, haunted by flashes of conversations, shadows behind windows, and unanswered questions. Eating becomes an afterthought, something he forces himself to do only when the dizziness gets too strong. He begins journaling as a desperate attempt to make sense of his unraveling life, writing down timelines, inconsistencies, memories he once thought were innocent. He starts watching as married the way an outsider watches a stranger's documentary, detached, analytical, numb. Lena moves around the house as if everything is normal, while Ethan feels like a ghost inside his own home, observing a version of his life he no longer recognizes. Every room feels different now, colder, unfamiliar. He can't shake the feeling that he's living in a story already written without him. He feels like a stranger in his own life. Ethan stands in the center of the living room, his living room, yet it feels like enemy territory. His hands tremble, his chest tightens, and he finally explodes after weeks of silent suffering. How long have you been seeing each other? The words rip from his throat, raw and shaking. Lena freezes mid-step, eyes wide, breath caught like she's been struck. Jordan, who had just walked in behind her, goes pale. So pale as if every secret he ever held drains from his veins at once. The silence that follows is deafening, thick enough to suffocate. Ethan watches their reactions, realizing that their fear isn't being accused, but of being exposed. Lena stutters, "Ethan, calm down, you're misunderstanding." But her voice cracks. Jordan avoids Ethan's eyes entirely. Their faces, their body language, their panic, it all confirms what Ethan feared most. This isn't confusion. This is guilt. Heavy, undeniable, suffocating guilt. The moment Lena tries to regain control, Jordan snaps. His voice cracks as he blurts, "She never loved him like she loved me." The confession slices the air open. Lena spins toward him, horrified. "Jordan, I told you not to say anything." The desperation in her voice proves everything Ethan feared. The room spins. His legs weaken. Jordan's words spill out uncontrollably, like a dam collapsing after years of pressure. He confesses he knew about Lena's first affair years ago, long before any of this. He covered for her, lied for her, protected her, not because he cared about Ethan, but because he wanted her for himself. "I only told her to stay with you so I could stay close," Jordan admits, voice trembling. Ethan feels something break inside him, something deep and final. Every memory, every holiday, every shared joke, every moment suddenly feels contaminated. He realizes this wasn't betrayal by accident. It was betrayal by design. Jordan steps forward, tears forming, but they're not tears of regret. They're tears of twisted entitlement, of longing suppressed for years. "I loved her first," he whispers, voice shaking with a disturbing blend of pride and pain. Lena shuts her eyes, unable to stop him now. "I've loved her since we were kids," Jordan continues. "You were just there. You got to her before I could." Ethan's heart fractures. Two people he trusted, his wife and his best friend, weren't just cheating. They were conspiring, encouraging each other, building a secret world behind his back, while letting him believe he was loved, supported, safe. Ethan realizes a horrifying truth. Every kind gesture, every confidence, every comforting word from Jordan was a performance meant to keep Ethan blind. Every tear Lena shed was a manipulation designed to maintain the illusion. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was years of emotional strategy, intentional deceit to betrayal rooted in obsession. When the truth finally settles, the house becomes painfully silent. Lena cries. Jordan stammers. But Ethan feels something neither of them expect. Clarity. For the first time in months, his chest loosens, his mind sharpens, his voice steadies. He looks at the two people who shattered him, and instead of rage or desperation, an almost calm detachment washes over him. He doesn't scream. He doesn't throw anything. He doesn't demand explanations they're too small to give. Instead, he simply says, "You two deserve each other." The words land heavy, not because they're cruel, but because they're true. Jordan flinches. Lena gasps. Ethan grabs his keys, walks out the door, and doesn't look back. As the door closes behind him, it feels symbolic. An ending, yes, but also a beginning. Every step he takes down the driveway feels lighter than the last, as if the chains he carried for years finally fell off. The next week, Ethan sits in a lawyer's office with a posture that surprises even him. Straight spine, steady voice, no trembling hands. While Lena spirals, calling constantly, sending frantic messages, Ethan remains focused. When Jordan realizes the consequences are real, papers, responsibility, commitment, he pulls back, distancing himself and leaving Lena alone with the mess she created. In court, even deeper lies surface. Hidden accounts, secret trips, emotional manipulation, small deceptions that accumulated like dust in corners Ethan never checked. With every revelation, Ethan feels less heartbroken and more liberated. The judge notes his calm, professional demeanor, so different from Lena's unraveling. By the time a divorce is finalized, the story is no longer about what Ethan lost, but about what he survived. He signs the final documents without shaking. He walks out of the courthouse not as a man destroyed by betrayal, but as a man reclaiming his name, his dignity, his freedom. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but for the first time in years, Ethan chooses himself. He starts therapy and discovers how much of his identity he had sacrificed trying to keep others happy. He begins sketching and painting again, creativity he buried long ago for the sake of stability. He moves into a new apartment filled with sunlight, plants, and space that feels like a fresh chapter rather than a reminder of old wounds. Slowly, he builds a new circle of friends. Co-workers, art club members, neighbors, people who know him as Ethan, not as Lena's husband or Jordan's friend. Each week, his nights become quieter but fuller, and his mornings feel less heavy. One evening, while journaling, he realizes something profound. Losing them wasn't losing. It was freeing. He didn't walk away from a marriage. He walked back to himself. And this time, he refuses to shrink for anyone. 6 months later, Ethan sits quietly in a cozy cafe, surrounded by the low hum of morning conversations and the soft clinking of cups. The world around him is alive, but he remains in a peaceful bubble of solitude as he opens his worn-out journal. This journal has carried every painful thought, every broken moment, and every small victory he has lived through since a betrayal that shattered his life. As he begins to write, his hand moves slowly, deliberately, almost as if he is carving the truth out of himself. He writes, "They broke me to pieces, but in those pieces, I finally found myself." These words don't come from bitterness. They come from clarity. The pain didn't just pass. It shaped him. He has rebuilt his sense of identity from the ground up, and for the first time, he feels genuinely whole. When Ethan closes the journal, he does it slowly with a small, sincere smile, not the forced smile he used to wear while pretending everything was okay. This smile comes from acceptance, from understanding that the worst chapter of his life was also the beginning of something new. He takes a breath, stands up, and walks out of the cafe, leaving behind the weight he once carried everywhere. The camera doesn't follow him. Instead, it lingers on the journal he left behind on the table, as if the journal itself has become a character, a silent witness to his suffering and transformation. That journal holds his battles, his breakdowns, and his rebirth. As sunlight gently touches the cover, it symbolizes a new life Ethan is stepping into, one rooted in strength rather than pain, in clarity rather than confusion. The camera slowly zooms in on a last written line. "Some betrayals are blessings wearing the wrong face." These words sit boldly on the page, a powerful reflection of Ethan's journey. What once felt like destruction has now revealed itself as liberation. He realizes a betrayal did not just end a relationship. It forced him to confront part of himself he had long ignored. It pushed him towards self-respect, boundaries, inner peace, and personal growth he might never have discovered. The line suggests that life's harshest moments often disguise themselves as tragedies when they are actually stepping stones toward truth. As the screen gently fades out, the audience is left with a lingering emotional weight. Not sadness, but a soft, inspiring ache. It feels like closure. It feels like healing. And most importantly, it feels like a new beginning not just for Ethan, but for every viewer who has ever been broken.